How about Juju Smith-Schuster? Obviously, a hot topic after the Super Bowl there. To the Bears, a little Claypool Juju reunion in the Windy City. He should land somewhere between 10 and 12 million for at least 4 years. The Bears can afford that. But Brady, deal or no deal?
I'm going to say deal because the roster needs an upgrade pretty much at every single position group. Juju had a solid year for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know that it's enough for anyone to consider him a true number one wide receiver, but I do think he could fit within that intermediate route, move the chains type player, reliable hands, especially for a quarterback who's still developing in Justin Fields. So you get Claypool in there as more of your bigger bodied, isolated wide receiver, shots downfield in the red zone. You've got Juju Smith-Schuster in there for the more intermediate. And then you just find unique ways of getting the ball in Darnell Mooney's hands, along with Cole Kmet, who are their two, obviously, holdovers who I think show the most promise. So you add that's the mix. Like, to me, that's a pretty solid group for Justin Fields, not only to evaluate him moving forward, but I think to give him a fighting chance in the NFC North. So I'm going to say deal, but again, the price has to be right in all this. It's not like we've got infinite money like the Brinson estate with what they spend on all the maintenance, landscaping, and everything else going on out there.
Well, hey, look, we invested in waffles a few months ago, and it's paying.
That'll do it.
That's the investment that keeps on giving. Let me just tell you that
Waffles.
I have 3 Ferraris because of my waffle investments.
That's that's
3.
Good job. Good job by you, Breechy. I would say I think deal too. If like Brady said, if the money's right. I really just want to point out, and Breech, I'll let you apologize to me as someone who
you need him to Breech,
who mocked me. You and Wilson berated me on the trade deadline show when I said it was outrageous, egregious even for the Bears to go up a second-round pick, which I at the time even said could be number 35 overall. You guys berated me, and I want an apology, damn it, for me being correct about that trade.
There was no such beratement from me. I was indifferent. I don't think.
Denial.
Yeah, Wilson's in Indy. I'll throw him under the bus. He's not in a spot to respond right now. I'm going to say no deal, though, with Juju. I think, hey, look, he put up decent numbers playing in a very prolific Chiefs offense. I'm not sure that he would be very content playing in the Bears offense. I feel like you get to a situation where just maybe put some things on TikTok, complains a little bit about not getting the kind of passes, the targets that he's used to, that he got in Kansas City last year. And it does feel like the Bears might try to go to a more run-heavy offense with Justin Fields. So I'm not sure that Juju would love playing the offense. I do agree with Brady that he'd be a good fit, but I don't think that he would love it there.
I have a question too. If the Bears, to me, the other thing is like the Bears would be better off signing an offensive lineman. And I also want to know if Cocaine Bear was in the free agent.
Oh yes, that's what they need. Wow. Like, just to go on Breech's point, if you're going to run the football, you need a bunch of like Cocaine Bears. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie lately. My goodness,
I haven't seen the movie yet. Have y'all seen it?
No.
It's crazy. It is nuts.
You seen it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I think Adventure is pretty far away from the actual true story of what's
the bear dies. Yeah, in real life, the bear is all the cocaine.
Spoiler alert, Katie, my goodness.
Cocaine, but
the real bear, not Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
The real life Cocaine Bear ate a bunch of cocaine and died, which is just what it's going to happen. But in this, because it's almost like sort of Sharknado-ish in like its willingness to extend reality. Like it's as we English, a suspension of disbelief.
I'm not going to ruin it for anyone out there. You should go see it. It's pretty entertaining. I'll leave it at that. But look, if they want to turn it into a running offense, which I don't think that's necessarily what wins anymore in the NFL, not consistently, they need to think about going back to those 85 Bears who may have also been deemed as the Cocaine Bears. But either way, I think an offensive lineman would be a better fit for this right now moving forward, because that's another group up front that they need probably more help there than to do a wide receiver or pass catcher at this point.
Same.
All right. Moving on. The Rams finished the year 5-12, and they failed to make the playoffs. The run game was practically non-existent, bottom 5 in the league. Josh Jacobs is available. Brinson, you making that deal?
I think I actually transcribed it thinking that we were signing him to the 49ers, which I was like, what do we do? What is happening here? This is
wow.
No, it wouldn't make any sense because you have McCaffrey and like you've seen in reality, the Niners have been so good at finding the later, Kyle has missed on some guys, but the later round guys have really hit for him. I would suggest that Josh Jacobs, the Rams. I love Josh Jacobs. Like, he is my new favorite player because we interviewed him at the Super Bowl, and I was like, who's the worst trash talker in the NFL? And he paused, and he was like, Derek Carr. I was like, oh my God, which is savage. But he's like, DC is gonna be mad, but he was a really fun interview. I think that, I don't know. I'm trying to think if I don't know. I think the fit could work, but it feels like they got something with Cam Akers late. I don't know that they need to be. I don't know. They need to put it this way. Yeah.
Can I put it this way? Like, Josh Jacobs going to the Rams offense makes you feel like you're driving a Prius, right? Like, you're efficient. It's good fuel economy, but that's an offense that they want to take shots. They want to get chunks. They want to be able to go when they want to. Like, they need more of like a Tesla, like a faster electric car. I think Josh Jacobs is a heck of a running back. I just don't know if that fits really the scheme and what Sean McVay is looking at doing in their backfield. And Will, you touched on the last thing that I think, Breech, I'd love to hear an explanation. What the hell happened with Cam Akers last year? Like, what was that? What is going on there?
It's weird.
I mean, that's the guy who didn't want to play, refused to play the first part of the season, and then injuries happen. All of a sudden, he's the starter. He's racking up huge yards, had the huge game on Christmas Day. That was a little crazy. So if you're the Rams, you're thinking, can we take this guy seriously? Is he our number one back going into 2023? But I think we talked about this a little bit with the Vikings, where you're going to free agency. You have a ton of needs. You cannot spend a lot of money on a running back. That is a one position. You're not going to give a guy $10, $11, $12 million per year. So I am definitely a no deal unless the Rams are willing to sell the waffles to pay Josh Jacobs. But I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. I think QB depth is a real problem for them. Do you guys think that they're going to re-sign Baker?
If I'm Baker, I'd want to re-sign there, and in part because I don't know how much longer Matt Stafford wants to do it, but if McVay keeps coming back, he's one of the best offensive minds. And so if you're going to resurrect your career under an offensive mind like that, that would be a place I'd look at. I'd look at San Francisco too. If I could get with Kyle Shanahan, I mean, every quarterback balls out in that system. So look, there's no telling signs that, yes, they invested a lot in Trey Lance. What happens if that doesn't pan out? Maybe you're sitting there waiting in the wings, and with Brock Purdy's injury, there's a window open there, and Jimmy Garoppolo is not coming back. So somewhere, either with the Rams, with McVay, or up in San Francisco, I think both would end up being really good situations for Baker to find himself in, to maybe sit for a little bit, watch, see if it doesn't really pan out, where all of a sudden you excel, and next thing you know, you're having a Geno Smith type year.
Yeah, and Baker is, I mean, frankly, like kind of an elite quarterback when you talk about the bootlegs and stuff like that. I mean, that's especially what he ran at Oklahoma. And if you put him, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to suggest Baker could go to San Francisco. And if we're assuming Brock Purdy isn't ready to start the season, that he could beat out Trey Lance in a one-on-one.
He could beat out Brock Purdy. Like, what are we talking about now? We saw Brock Purdy for 7-8 games, and now we're anointing him. Like,
Brady, you have been a Brock Purdy not believer.
And he got them a win in Pittsburgh. Are we serious right now? Like, a win with Mike Prefer taking over as your interim head coach. Like, I think we're like really downplaying what Baker was able to do for the Browns. And I know he didn't look great during his time in Carolina, but what quarterback did over that span? Obviously Frank Reich's there for a reason to turn it around. And then Baker looked pretty darn good in a short sample size with the Rams. So I feel like we're really underscoring the fact of what Baker is capable of, and then looking at what Purdy did and saying, okay, how many guys wouldn't love to have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle in that offensive line and not be able to necessarily put up some yards, points, etc.
Well, Katie, I think I see a 49ers bobblehead behind you. Do you even want Baker in San Francisco? You're the 49ers expert here.
Well, for me, it's like, give me Brock Purdy or give me death, Brady Quinn. And I've been saying this every time you go on the show, and you have been a Purdy doubter this whole time. But I love this kid.
It's not a doubter. It's actually the exact opposite. It's more of a fan of Kyle Shanahan in the system. And I think, look, you can say whatever you want about Brock Purdy's success. I'm not taking anything away from him. He played great in some of those moments. But where he was drafted, obviously, by all the teams in the NFL, San Francisco included. It's not like they didn't pass on him once or twice along actually drafting him. They clearly see where his ceiling's at as a player. And there's a reason why when Trey Lance comes back and is healthy, it's going to be his job, because they know he's got a higher ceiling. All I'm saying is Baker Mayfield has a higher ceiling. And so if you're the 49ers and you want to win a Super Bowl, you have to look at who you're competing with. Well, on the other side, that's Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the league, best quarterback on the planet. You better have someone who can go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with him, throw for throw with him. And I'm not necessarily sure that's the case.
Are we saying that Baker Mayfield could go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes?
I think he showed chances of being able to do. I mean, in college, I watched him do it.
Yeah.
He technically has in college. Yeah, that's true. I think Baker has more upside than Brock Purdy. And like, that's no disrespect to.
Well, and I do think that the 49ers do need to sign a veteran quarterback as well, because we don't know about the health of Brock Purdy, and we don't know we haven't seen Trey Lance play in 3 years now, except for just a very, very small sample size. But all right, we will get to the 49ers in a little bit, guys. Let's talk about OBJ. Became a free agent last March, and he's still a free agent. He can sign with any team at any time, though he reportedly was hoping for $20 million per year. But he's 30 years old, hasn't played in more than a year, likely a pipe dream. But the Packers could use some veteran talent in their receivers room. Brady, deal or no deal for OBJ in Green Bay?
No deal. He doesn't want to go there. I mean, especially if Rodgers isn't there. Are we kidding ourselves? I mean, there's no chance he wants to go play in Green Bay. It's no disrespect to Green Bay, but like, he's looking for a team that's going to have a chance of winning a Super Bowl, and he's going to tie himself to that quarterback, that team's track record. And, you know, I think he would maybe even forego some money in order to be on a better situation, a better team. God, I'd love to
forego some money. Nobody's paying him that much.
Exactly. And that's part of it too, with the injury history, you know, and his age factoring in there as well. But like, God, go to Kansas City. That'd be amazing to see him there and see what Andy Reid could do with them amongst what they have. Like, if you're going to go take a discount, go to Kansas City, go there, and then see what you're able to build yourself back from. That seems to make a lot of sense to me.
Are you not worried that like OBJ is sort of a diva, might be like out in Kansas City peacocking around, acting like, you know, some big to do? Like the OBJ thing, by the way, last year was so ridiculous. Like,
first off, I mean, let's just try to imagine what OBJ peacocking around in Kansas City looks like. Because last time when I was playing Kansas City, people could rip darts like in restaurants there at some point in time. So I'm just picturing OBJ like ripping some cigarettes outside of a bar in Kansas City, and you're like, "What's OBJ doing here? Oh, he's here to play football, but he's also ripping some darts." So
do you remember what smoking sections were like back in the day when it was just like a rope, and like you could just like sit. You could sit like there could be like a family of 8 sitting here eating like their like nice Sunday dinner, and like 3 DJs could come sitting in and like just sitting next to him, but like the only thing separating them was this little like rope, and then just fire heaters indoors and like blood, like nothing. It's like, oh, the rope is gonna stop the smoke. Like that's right.
And then that family went home like smelling like they had smoked like 18 boxes of cigarettes. That poor family.
Awful.
What a time! What a time to be alive.
You used to be able to. I mean, I remember this. I mean, not me, obviously, for
yeah, not you.
But I remember when used to see people smoke in airports, like and especially around here, when it's tobacco friendly.
They still do, by the way. There's still like those
smoking rooms.
Yeah, smoking rooms. You see them all the time. Like people just absolutely piping those things down.
Those things are pretty foul, I hear.
All right, so cigarettes aside, who else wants to weigh in on OBJ in Green Bay? Breech?
I was like, cigs aside.
I'll just say real quick on this. So I like the idea of Odell in Kansas City, but Brinson mentioning the word diva. What happens when Travis Kelce's getting 100 targets and Odell's only getting 50? Is he going to be getting upset that he is not getting the amount of passes he wants? So I do like the idea of Odell in Green Bay, but only if Aaron Rodgers is there, because I don't think Odell's personality would mesh well with Jordan Love. You don't want it to overwhelm your starting quarterback, who would be in his first year and yelling at him on the sideline because he's not throwing him enough passes. So if Aaron Rodgers is there, I like Odell, deal. But if Jordan Love is the starter, then no deal. Playing the game, deal or no deal.
No, I mean, I think Odell's going to go somewhere like, I think he wants the Dallas factor. I don't know if he ends up going to Dallas, but I think Jerry Jones loves the idea of, you sign Odell, and even if it's like a superfluous, signing, like you still get the attention that he loves and craves, and Odell gets the attention he loves and craves. And so I think
Ooh. What if they let go of Zeke, but you bring in Odell?
That might be a way to like pacify Jerry Jones's obsession with Zeke, like keeping Zeke Elliott on the roster.
Well, it'd be the opposite. Like they're letting Zeke go, but you bring in OBJ.
That's what I'm saying. You're like, because like it's like freaking Like Jerry Jones just cannot move past the idea of giving Zeke these like horrendously inefficient carries in games. You know, they Tony Pollard, they run down the goal line and they just like, you know, then Zeke gets like, I don't know. Yeah, I think Odell. That's what I'm saying. Odell would be like the 1-for-1 swap that might make Jerry happy.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to have to humble himself a little bit, though, because I don't think he's one of the first picks that's going to go. And if you think these teams are going to start to blow through their budgets, they're not going to have a lot of money left over for him. And who knows if he can even still play at a high level.
That's a great question. The good thing he has working for him, though, is if you look at this year's draft, there are some top end, really talented receivers. Quentin Johnson out of TCU, Jordan Addison out of USC, who's my personal favorite, and then Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State, who really didn't play this year. I'll be curious to see, you know, how he looks, how he's looked at and evaluated because of that. But those are really the top three dogs or the top three guys. Outside of that, it's quite as strong of a class, and so maybe that works to an Odell Beckham's advantage. At least as far as teams that are looking to replace that wide receiver or that open spot, you know, with a more economical option there.